You think you're walking through a familiar, well-mapped forest.
Right, yeah.
You know the trails?
Exactly. You know the heroes, you know the villains, you trust the mentor, you feel this genuine sense of security. But then you turn the final page and you realize you aren't walking in a forest at all.
Not even close.
No. You are standing on the back of this massive, ancient, sleeping dragon. And it just woke up, shook off the illusion of the trees, and took flight, just dropping you into a terrifying free fall.
That is exactly the vertigo of what we are dealing with today. I mean, you're plunging through the air, desperately trying to grab onto any familiar branch,
Yeah.
But any piece of lore you thought you understood, they are all snapping off in your hands.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive, everyone. If you've been with us for the last 9 discussions, you know we've been leading up to this exact moment. We are so intensely thrilled you're here with us today, and honestly, I am a little out of breath.
I mean, we both are. It's a lot. It really is. Because this is it. This is the grand finale of Book 1, The Whistling Swordsman. Beginnings. We are covering the monumental Act 3 and the absolutely mind-bending epilogue. And right out of the gate, I just have to say, my mind is entirely blown.
Oh, completely shattered.
I have been pacing my living room for 3 days trying to process what Gentrics just pulled off here.
I'm still picking my jaw up off the floor, to be honest. We have spent hours, I mean literally hours, analyzing these characters.
That's so many hours.
Right, fiercely debating their motives, and Neo just took everything we thought we understood and completely dismantled it. It forces you to question every single word you've read up to this point.
Yes, every single word.
But it's not just shock value, it's a testament to the sheer architectural genius of this living universe.
It really is. So, let me map out the mission for today. So you, listening right now, know exactly what kind of emotional roller coaster you are strapping into.
Buckle up, seriously.
We are going to unpack the epic, destructive conclusion of the Xaolyn Timber Forest battle. We're going to dive into a massive, heartbreaking lore drop regarding Xeonyx's grandfather.
Which completely changes the flavor of the whole war, by the way.
Completely. And we're going to step into a time travel paradox that manipulates the living fabric of the universe in a way that will literally make your head spin. And then,
oh, man,
here it comes.
Yeah. Then we're going to talk about that epilogue.
The epilogue. We have to issue a blinking red warning right now.
We do.
If you thought you had a firm handle on who to trust in this story, just, prepare to have your heart shattered.
Yes, absolutely.
Sure.
Prepare yourselves emotionally. But before we get to the profound betrayal, we have to talk about the sheer, unadulterated adrenaline of the climax.
The climax is it's relentless.
It is. Let's transition from where we left off in our last deep dive, hanging on that agonizing cliffhanger. We left our protagonist, Xeonyx, deep in the ancient breathing woods of the Xaolyn Timber Forest.
Right in the thick of it. Right. And his new ally, the mystic warrior, Shane Ngo. And remember, for everyone taking notes at home, that's pronounced exactly like Shane Ngo. The G is completely silent.
Yeah, Shane Ngo.
Exactly. So Shane Ngo is in critical condition.
And critical is honestly an understatement here. Shane Ngo is undergoing a rapid, violent biological collapse. It's horrifying to read.
It's so visceral.
It really is. He is deteriorating from a robust, muscular 30-year-old warrior into a frail, deeply wrinkled 80-year-old man, like right in front of our eyes.
Yeah, his very life force is just bleeding out into the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And I really want to pause here and emphasize the why and how of this, because it's crucial to understanding the living world Gentrics has built.
Absolutely crucial.
If you're new to this universe or just need a refresher, this rapid aging isn't because of some dark curse.
No, not at all.
There's absolutely no magic here, no spells, no incantations, no glowing wands, nothing like that.
Right. Everything is intimately tied to the living, breathing forces of the natural world.
It's exactly. Shane's youth and vitality are tethered directly to an earth elemental.
Precisely. And we really need to define what an elemental is in this context, right?
Please do, yeah.
Because the earth elemental gem housed in his weapon, the mystic axe of Xeonyx, is not an inanimate battery. You don't just, plug it in to charge up your powers.
Right, it's not a machine.
It is a living, breathing creature born of the deep soil and stone. It shares a profound symbiotic bond with Shane. They sustain each other.
It's like a partnership.
Exactly. Think of it like a great oak tree drawing water from the earth, while its roots hold the soil together and prevent erosion. They exist in total balance.
Wow, yeah.
But because the enemy, Fusemaster, shattered the axe and physically separated the gem from Shane, that living bond has been violently severed.
The roots have been ripped out of the ground.
Exactly.
Shane's life force is just venting out into the wind, evaporating like mist under a hot sun. He is literally dying of old age in a matter of hours.
It's terrifying.
So Xeonyx is forced into this desperate infiltration mission. He has to sneak into Fusemaster's heavily fortified camp to retrieve this living gem and save Shane's life before his body turns to dust.
And this entire infiltration sequence, it's where we see a massive, fascinating shift in Xeonyx's character development.
Oh, totally. Because, well, up until this point in the narrative, how has Xeonyx solved his problems?
By charging in.
Exactly. He's a storm. He relies almost entirely on raw emotion and physical artistry. He swings his blade, he lets the wind guide his strikes in these bursts of kinetic energy.
Yeah, he relies on the roar of the tempest. But here, the brute force of a storm is simply not an option.
Not at all.
The camp is swarming with Aeon Pax's seasoned soldiers. I mean, a frontal assault would be absolute suicide.
So he's forced to adapt. He becomes a shadow in the woods. He sneaks into a peripheral tent, steals a soldier's uniform and disguises himself.
Which is so tense.
Oh, I was sweating reading it. He eavesdrops on passing patrols, hiding in the dark to gather intelligence. And then he pulls off this incredibly bold bluff.
The bluff is insane.
He walks right up to a deep-voiced, intimidating guard and demands the Terraferan tribe's treasure, claiming that Fusemaster wants it immediately to deal with the threat in the forest.
It is a moment of sheer audacity. I mean, he is leveraging the military hierarchy and the fear of Fusemaster against the guards themselves.
Okay, but I have to push back a little on Xeonyx's strategy here, because while it's thrilling to read, it is incredibly risky.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, it's like walking into a hornet's nest wearing a yellow and black striped shirt and hoping they just think you're a really big, slightly awkward bee.
That is a great way to put it.
Right. If that guard had asked for a specific daily password, or recognized that Xeonyx's voice didn't match the uniform, or noticed his posture was wrong, he would have been surrounded and slaughtered instantly.
Yeah, the margins for error were zero.
So why didn't he just find a way to quietly assassinate the guards from the trees, or use the whistling wind style from a safe distance to create a diversion?
Well, it's a natural instinct to ask, why not just fight? But you have to consider the nature of his abilities, right? The whistling wind style is inherently loud.
Oh, that's true.
It's an auditory art as much as a physical one. A diversion would put the entire camp on high alert, and knowing Aeon Pax's destructive ideology, they might destroy the gem out of spite or secure it away entirely.
Yeah, they would just crush it.
Exactly. And regarding the hornet's nest analogy, I think a better way to look at it is through the lens of a natural predator.
Okay, I like that.
A tiger doesn't always roar before it strikes, right? It adopts the coloration of its environment. It moves with the grass.
Wow, yes.
Xeonyx is learning that adapting to the landscape, even a hostile human landscape, is a vital survival trait. This isn't just about swinging a sword. It is about outthinking the opponent.
He realizes that sometimes cunning is a sharper weapon than steel.
Exactly.
That does reframe it. He's learning to be a chameleon, not just a hurricane, and miraculously the bluff works.
Against all odds.
The guard points into the center tent, and the tension is just unbearable. He grabs the gem, stuffs it in a bag, and races back to the clearing. But the timing is razor thin.
So thin.
When he finally arrives, his lungs are burning, his legs are aching, and Fusemaster has Shane completely cornered.
Shane is unconscious at this point, completely drained of his youth, looking like a fragile skeleton wrapped in an oversized bear pelt.
Ugh, the imagery is brutal.
And Fusemaster is raising his weapon to execute him.
So Xeonyx bursts from the tree line. He drops the stolen bag to distract Fusemaster, draws his blade, and launches a desperate surprise attack.
Just in the nick of time.
He slashes Fusemaster's arm, forcing him to stumble back in pain, and buys just enough precious seconds for Shane to weakly grasp the recovered Earth Elemental gem.
And this restoration sequence, I mean, Gentrics describes it with such vivid, visceral language.
It's incredible.
When the Earth Elemental rebonds with Shane, it's not some, magical sparkle. It's a rushing, torrential return of life force.
You can almost physically feel the heartbeat of the Earth syncing back up with Shane's pulse through the page.
Yes. The deep, sagging wrinkles physically smooth out. The frail, hunched posture straightens up with a sharp crack of bone and sinew.
It's so loud.
The muscle mass literally inflates back into his arms and chest. He transforms from an elderly man on the brink of death back into this robust, broad-shouldered, 30-year-old warrior.
It's like watching a withered, dying plant that has been starved of water for weeks, drink in a sudden torrential downpour, and just explode back into full, vibrant bloom in fast motion.
That's a perfect analogy.
It emphasizes perfectly that these elementals actively protect their protectors.
Yeah.
It's a shared breath between man and nature.
But the relief of seeing Shane restore is cut incredibly short.
Oh, immediately.
Fuse Master is furious about being tricked and wounded, and his soldiers swarm the clearing.
Shane, being the absolute legend that he is, turns to Xeonyx and says, "I will hold off the army. You take down Fuse Master."
Such a cool moment.
He trusts Xeonyx with the main threat. Which brings us to the actual duel against Fuse Master. And I have to say, this fight sequence is an absolute tactical nightmare.
It really is. Fuse Master's weapon, the dynamite staff, completely redefines the parameters of the engagement.
It is a weapon designed specifically to punish defense. Let's really talk about the sheer physical artistry of this weapon, because it completely nullifies everything Kenshin taught Xeonyx about defensive swordplay.
It's just brutal.
It's a long steel staff,
Yeah.
entirely coated in highly volatile gunpowder, tipped with a constantly burning fuse. It looks like something a madman would invent.
Oh, absolutely. And the way it operates is incredibly punishing to a traditional blade user.
How so?
Well, whenever the staff makes a kinetic impact, whether it hits a tree trunk, the earth, or an opponent's parrying sword, the friction triggers a violent localized detonation.
Just a straight-up explosion.
Exactly. The explosion blasts outward toward the defender with concussive force. But through a specific stance and heavy resistance, Fuse Master himself remains completely unharmed by the blast radius of his own weapon.
I want you, the listener, to pause and imagine facing an opponent where every single defensive move you make causes an explosion right in your own face.
It's terrifying.
If you raise your sword to block an overhead strike, you trigger a bomb. If you try to parry a thrust, you trigger a bomb.
Even trying to disarm him.
Yes, if you strike at his weapon to disarm him, you trigger a bomb. You are forced to instantly rewrite your survival instincts on the fly. Your brain is telling you to block, but blocking means death.
It completely disrupts the natural rhythm of combat. Kenshin taught Xeonyx to harmonize with the wind, to feel the flow of an opponent's strike, to meet it and gracefully deflect it.
Right.
But how do you deflect an expanding shockwave of fire and force?
You can't.
Exactly, you can't parry an explosion. The moment your steel touches his staff, the air itself catches fire. It forces Xeonyx into a purely evasive reactive state.
He is getting scorched, his clothes are burning, he's getting knocked back by the concussive waves. He's losing.
He is definitely losing ground.
He realizes he can't win a war of attrition.
Yeah.
He needs an environmental advantage. He needs water to defeat the fire of the gunpowder.
Smart move.
So he makes a brilliant tactical retreat. He yells for Shane to follow his lead, and they sprint through the dense forest toward a nearby lake, dodging attacks from henchmen the entire way.
And Fuse Master does not just chase them on foot.
Oh my gosh, no.
This guy literally arrives flying through the air on a rocket-like explosive projectile.
It's insane.
It's an absurd, terrifying display of his destructive focus and his reliance on volatile forces.
It's such a wild, chaotic image. A guy riding a rocket through ancient trees.
But Xeonyx taps into his instincts. He leaps up and slices the rocket in half midair with a precise, razor-sharp strike of wind, forcing Fuse Master to crash into the dirt.
And then we get the combined team-up strike that is just absolute poetry in motion.
It is so good.
It's a flawless execution of teamwork. Shane uses his deep connection to the forest to drop down silently from the high branches above, completely surprising Fuse Master.
Like a drop bear. Yes, and he dumps a pouch of lake water directly onto the dynamite staff.
Soaking the gunpowder. The fuse fizzles out.
The threat of detonation is instantly extinguished. The terrifying weapon is reduced to just a heavy piece of wet steel.
And in that brief window of vulnerability, Shane swings his mystic axe with the full weight of the earth behind it and shatters the steel staff into useless pieces.
It's a brilliant, highly satisfying moment.
It really is.
Yeah.
But Fuse Master is so deeply consumed by spite, so fiercely loyal to Aeon Pax's destructive vision, that he refuses to accept defeat.
He's just pure malice at this point.
He knows he's dying from the internal feedback of his shattered weapon, So, in a dying act of sheer, concentrated malice, he plunges the broken, highly volatile remnant of his staff deep into the earth.
Oh, so spiteful.
He channels all of his remaining destructive intent into it, creating a massive forest-leveling bomb buried in the dirt. He wants to take the entire ancient timber forest down with him.
He weaponizes his own death. It is the ultimate scorched earth tactic.
Literally.
He would rather see the world burn than see it thrive without him. It's a perfect reflection of Aeon Pax's core philosophy, control the environment or destroy it.
And this is where Xeonyx truly connects with the living breath of the world.
Yeah.
Shane looks at the pulsating earth and tells Xeonyx to use the whistling wind style to let the forest aid him.
It's a beautiful moment of trust.
So Xeonyx centers himself. He listens to the environment. He taps into the brown winds, which is so incredibly cool because the brown wind represents the living forest itself.
Yeah, it's such a great concept.
It is the ancient trees, the deep soil, the sprawling roots, all actively lending their natural strength to him to protect their shared home. It's the forest fighting back through him.
The environment recognizes him as a protector. It responds to his intent to preserve. It is a beautiful contrast to Fusemaster, who treated the environment merely as an obstacle to be blown up.
Exactly.
Xeonyx harmonizes with the living forest, draws his blade, and strikes the buried bomb with a concentrated, spiraling burst of brown wind.
The wind wraps around the volatile energy, splitting it and launching it high into the sky, where it safely detonates far above the canopy in a massive fireworks display of neutralized energy.
The blast wave knocks them back, rustling the leaves, but the forest is saved.
The ancient trees stand tall. It is an epic, breathtaking climax to the physical battle.
It really is. It resolves the immediate threat of Fusemaster and solidifies Xeonyx's role not just as a survivor, but as an active guardian of the natural world. He has protected the elementals, and they have protected him.
But of course, Gentrics never lets us rest on a victory for long.
Never.
The physical battle ends, but the emotional battle is just beginning. As the smoke clears and the adrenaline fades, the sun sets. The forest quiets down to a peaceful hum, and Xeonyx and Shane sit around a crackling campfire.
And Shane, looking at the restored forest, decides it's time to share the history of the Xaolyn Timber Forest.
This is where the narrative shifts gears entirely.
Completely. It moves from a grand tale of environmental defense into something deeply intimate, historical, and tragically personal. Shane reveals that many years ago, long before the Great Congo War ravaged the continent, a research team visited this sacred forest. And leading that team was none other than Xeonyx's grandfather, the legendary Xeonyx.
Imagine sitting by a fire in a mystical forest and suddenly hearing your missing grandfather's name, spoken by an ancient guardian.
It's chilling.
He's been searching for any connection to this man his entire life.
It's a profound moment of connection, but the story isn't a happy tale of heroism. Xeonyx didn't come alone. He brought his brother, Iolite.
And here's where it gets really interesting and profoundly heartbreaking. The forest houses a sacred living artifact called the Infinity Crest, the Earth Hearthstone.
Located deep within the sacred mystic heart oak.
Right. It is the vital core of the forest. And while Xeonyx respected the boundaries of the forest, his brother Iolite betrayed them all.
Iolite attempted to steal the Infinity Crest under the cover of darkness. He tried to rip the living heart out of the forest for his own gain, completely disregarding the catastrophic consequences it would have on the environment.
When he was caught, it led to a brutal duel between brothers right there in the ancient woods. Xeon fought his own brother, physically scarred him, and banished him to honor his word to the mystics.
But Shane reveals the true depth of the tragedy here. Iolite wasn't just greedy. He was consumed by a deep, rotting jealousy. He felt entirely unloved by their father, constantly overshadowed by his noble, legendary brother.
And fueled by that deep-seated insecurity, Iolite had secretly aligned himself with the tyrant Aeon Pax.
This single revelation completely recontextualizes the entire conflict of the book. It changes the flavor of everything we've read up to this point.
It really does.
It's no longer just good versus evil. It's brother against brother.
I want you to think about what this means for the listener who has been following Xeonyx's journey. The greatest threat to the Novus family, the reason they were living in hiding on a remote hill, wasn't some faceless, abstract political empire.
Right, it wasn't just Aeon Pax acting as a distant tyrant.
It was a deeply insecure, unloved brother. It shifts the story from a grand political war into an intimate, bleeding family wound.
Yes, but it's not just that he was an unloved brother, it's that Aeon Pax actively weaponized that insecurity.
Oh, that's such a good point.
They saw a fracture in a powerful bloodline and they drove a wedge into it. It makes the violence so much more visceral.
Totally.
When Aeon Pax's forces, led by Crater Steve, burned Xeonyx's home to the ground, when his parents were murdered in front of him, that wasn't just a random act of state-sponsored terrorism.
No.
That was an uncle enacting a decades-long vengeance on his own bloodline. The roots of this global war are tangled in sibling rivalry.
It's devastating. Xeonyx is reeling from this campfire revelation. He realizes that all the answers to his family's pain lie in the past, buried in the history of the Congo War.
And this is where the story takes a leap that I did not see coming.
Not in a million years. Xeonyx decides to defy the linear flow of time itself.
Desperate for clarity, he seeks out Xaolyn, a character introduced earlier, who possesses the extraordinary ability to manipulate the living fabric of space.
And we need to be very precise about how this works. There are no spells here. Xaolyn understands the natural weaving currents of space.
It's like an art form.
It is. He can grasp the fabric of reality, much like a master weaver holding two ends of a massive, heavy tapestry, and physically fold it so deeply that two distant points in time touch and bleed into one another.
He bends the river of time until it touches itself.
It is a profound manipulation of nature's deepest currents. By stepping through that folded fabric, Xeonyx plunges backward through the years, leaving his present behind and landing squarely in the mud, the smoke, and the blood of the legendary Congo War.
The sensory experience of this jump is staggering.
It's insane. I want you to imagine growing up hearing myths about your grandfather. He's a ghost whose absence defines your life.
Right.
And then you step through a fold in reality, and the air is thick with the smell of ozone and ash, and you are standing in a damp stone prison cell, looking directly into the eyes of a younger, breathing version of that very man.
The emotional weight of that meeting is immense. Xeonyx has to frantically prove his identity to Xeon clerics to convince this hardened, suspicious warrior that he is his grandson from a broken, distant future.
And they don't have time for a long family reunion, because the war is raging outside. They break out and plunge directly into the chaos of the battlefield.
Xeonyx is fighting shoulder to shoulder with his grandfather. It's a surreal moment of generational synergy.
But the true shock comes when they face the enemy leader across the blood-soaked field.
The leader of the opposing forces steps forward through the smoke, and it is none other than Iolite.
The brother. The traitor.
The visual clash here is stunning. Gentrics paints this scene with such vivid colors that you can almost feel the temperature change in the room.
Oh, absolutely.
Iolite is wielding a sinister, heavy red wind, a violent, corrupted, jagged current of air that feels hot and suffocating. It burns and tears at everything it touches, a reflection of his own rotting rage.
And against that, Xeon commands a gentle, incredibly powerful green wind, a revitalizing natural gale that flows with the breath of the earth, steady and resolute.
It is the physical manifestation of their inner turmoil clashing. The corrupted, jealous brother wielding a scorching storm against the noble protector wielding the sustaining breath of life. It is nature at war with itself.
And they clash, sword against sword, wind against wind, but this is where I absolutely lost my mind.
There we go.
During this chaotic, world-shaking battle, Iolite locks eyes with Xeonyx.
The pivot point of the entire timeline.
Iolite looks at this mysterious young warrior who is fighting alongside his brother. He studies his face, he watches his techniques, and Iolite realizes who he is looking at.
He puts the pieces together.
Yes. Iolite recognizes Xeonyx as the descendant of his brother. But I want you to really think about the paradox happening right here. How is this possible?
It shouldn't be.
In the present day of this war, in the past that they are currently standing in, Xeonyx is only 5 years old. He's a toddler living a quiet life somewhere far away.
It's crazy.
We are looking at a living, breathing temporal paradox. Iolite just met the adult version of the 5-year-old kid he knows exists in the future.
It is a stunning, mind-bending narrative loop. But we have to ask how the rules of this universe allow a closed-loop paradox to happen without erasing the timeline.
Right. How does it hold together?
Well, in a living universe, time isn't just a rigid track. It's a flowing river. When Xaolyn folded the fabric, he created an eddy, a swirling current, where the future and past momentarily mixed.
Oh, like water swirling back on itself.
Exactly. The universe tolerates it temporarily, but it creates immense atmospheric pressure. As for Iolite, he is witnessing a grown man who hasn't even grown up yet, and the implications of that realization are terrifying for him.
Terrifying.
Iolite now knows, with absolute certainty, that Xeon's grandson will survive his purges and grow up to be a formidable warrior. It proves that his efforts to wipe out the bloodline will ultimately fail.
It's insane. Iolite is staring his own future demise right in the face. It's a living spoiler for his own life.
A living spoiler, yeah.
But before the battle can reach a fatal conclusion, the sheer intensity of the clashing red and green winds, the absolute tempest of opposing natural forces, creates a violent resonance in the atmosphere.
The pressure becomes too great for the folded space to handle.
The living universe rejects the paradox. It forcefully pulls Xeonyx back through the rift, ripping him out of the past and slamming him back into his own time.
The past is left behind, sealed off once more.
He is torn away from his grandfather just as quickly as he found him, leaving him with impossible memories, but with a horrifying, crystal-clear understanding of who his true enemy is and the depths of that enemy's hatred.
Okay, take a deep breath. Shake out your arms.
They need to.
Because we are about to enter the epilogue.
The epilogue. The section that redefines the word plot twist and leaves you staring at the wall.
It really does.
We need to stop everything right now. I need to speak directly to you, the listener. If you have been with us for the past 9 deep dives, you know we have spent hours arguing about the underlying motives in Book 1.
We have debated character loyalties, we have built elaborate theories.
And I have to admit that everything we debated, everything we thought we had figured out, was completely and utterly shattered by this epilogue.
It forces a total structural reevaluation of the entire book.
Yeah.
You cannot read Book 1 the same way ever again.
Let's start with Mrs. Kazuki. Let's cast our minds way back to the beginning of the story, back at the quiet days before the fire.
Oh boy.
Mrs. Kazuki was this seemingly random woman and old friend who visited Xeonyx's mother right before Crater Steve arrived and burned their home to the ground.
We spent an entire discussion fiercely debating her presence.
We did, and I was the one leading the charge. I argued so aggressively that she was a spy for Aeon Pax.
You really did.
I said her timing was too perfect to be a coincidence. I said she was a scout who infiltrated the house under the guise of friendship, confirmed the family's identity, and tipped off Crater Steve to their exact location. I was so profoundly sure she was the villain who doomed the Novus family.
Well, you had the puzzle pieces, but you arranged them into entirely the wrong picture. You saw a shadow and assumed it was a monster.
I had it completely embarrassingly backwards.
Yeah.
The epilogue pulls back the curtain and takes us back to the past again, to the aftermath of the Congo War battle we just described. And what do we see? We see Mrs. Kazuki.
But she's not a spy for Aeon Pax.
No. She is a maid. She is a maid tending to the injured Iolite in the enemy camp.
While changing his bandages, she overhears him ranting. She overhears his sinister, rage-filled plans to track down and eliminate Xeon's family.
It's incredible.
She overhears the bounty placed on the Whistling Swordsman's bloodline, down to the youngest child.
She wasn't spying for Aeon Pax. She spent decades spying on Aeon Pax. She heard the horrific plot to destroy the Novus family, and she quietly dedicated her entire life to finding them first. She spent years tracking them down, navigating the dangerous, war-torn landscape, following whispers and rumors, hiding her true intentions, just to warn them.
She is the ultimate unsung protector. And think about the ethical burden she carried. Decades of knowing this secret.
The sheer willpower.
The willpower it took to remain silent, to play the part of a lowly maid while searching for a hidden family.
It is a mind-blowing shift in perspective. She visited the mother not to mark her for death, but to desperately try to save her.
She was a guardian angel?
A woman who risked absolutely everything to protect a family she barely knew just because she heard a villain plotting their demise and decided to do the right thing.
Neo masterfully flipped this character from a suspected traitor into one of the most noble, selfless, courageous figures in the entire lore.
I formally, publicly apologized to Mrs. Kazuki.
It really emphasizes the silent courage of ordinary people in this universe. Not everyone fights with a sword and living wind. Some fight with patience and a long, dangerous journey across hostile territory.
Beautifully said.
But as beautiful and redemptive as that revelation is, the epilogue follows it up with a betrayal so profound, so devastating, that it physically hurts to talk about.
Okay, here we go. Brace yourselves. The ultimate betrayal. And I am going to claim my moment here. This is the ultimate I told you so moment, and yet it brings me absolutely no joy.
I knew you were going to bring this up.
I need you to remember back in Deep Dive 8, I formally apologize for ever calling Kenshin Sensei an evil, manipulative groomer.
You conceded the debate.
I conceded. I agreed with you, and with many of our listeners, that Kenshin was just a tough, gritty, loving surrogate father who was trying to prepare Xeonyx for a harsh world.
We bought into the wholesome birthday party with the villagers.
I thought he was just a harsh mentor with a meat cleaver.
We all did. The narrative expertly led us to believe he was forging a boy into a man capable of surviving Aeon Pax's regime. We wanted a father figure for Xeonyx. We wanted him to be safe.
But the epilogue takes us back to Iolite in the past, right after he meets the time-traveling Xeonyx.
Iolite is furious.
He is terrified. He realizes the bloodline survives into the future, despite his best efforts. So Iolite formulates a plan.
A generational, deeply psychological torture plan.
Yes. To destroy the Whistling Swordsman legacy from the inside out.
It is the most insidious strategy imaginable. It's not about immediate assassination. It's about slow, methodical corruption.
Iolite states that he will not just send assassins. Assassins can be fought. He says he will send his best, most ruthless, most loyal warrior into the future.
And he orders this warrior to find the young Xeonyx, to infiltrate his life, to gain his absolute, unquestioning trust.
And then to fill his path with darkness, despair, and suffering. He wants to groom Xeonyx not into a hero, but into a broken, malleable weapon for Aeon Pax.
He wants to conquer his soul, not just his body.
And then the camera pans, and Iolite hands a photograph of Xeonyx to a fallen student who is kneeling before him. And what is that student's name? I want you to say it.
Malamar Kenshin.
Malamar Kenshin, Kenshin Sensei.
It's so hard to process.
The man who fed him, housed him, trained him, the man who organized a birthday party for him. Kenshin was planted by Iolite.
It is absolutely devastating. It is a structural collapse of trust, the ultimate betrayal.
I am screaming with vindication, but my heart is completely broken. Every brutal lesson on Shaman Hill, the heavy meat cleaver tearing his muscles, the staged bandit attacks meant to induce trauma.
All of it.
The feigned affection, the wholesome birthday party where he finally let his guard down, it was all a lie. It was a long con, psychological torture designed to monitor and groom Xeonyx for the enemy. He was raising a lamb for the slaughter.
Kenshin wasn't forging armor to protect Xeonyx. He was forging a collar.
Wow.
He was observing him, measuring his reactions to trauma, keeping him on a knife's edge of panic and lethality, specifically to serve Iolite's design. He wanted him strong enough to be useful, but broken enough to be controlled.
But here's where it gets really dark, where the implications become terrifying. And I need to ask this. I need to push back on everything we know about the fighting style Kenshin taught him.
Oh, this is the scary part.
If Kenshin is a deep cover agent of Iolite, an agent of the Red Wind, of corruption, of burning rage, how much of his training was actually meant to help Xeonyx?
That is the terrifying question that will define the next book. That is the true horror of this reveal.
Think about it. Was Kenshin teaching him the style wrong on purpose?
It's highly likely.
Think about the meat cleaver. Think about the intense emphasis on brute force, exhaustion, and lethal intent before Xeonyx ever learned about the gentle, living breath of the green wind.
He was setting him up for failure.
Was Kenshin deliberately crippling Xeonyx's connection to the true living forces of the world? Was he trying to sever Xeonyx's natural roots so that he could only ever access the destructive, corrupted storms of Iolite style? Was he poisoning the well?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it suggests that the very foundation of Xeonyx's power is corrupted. He learned to swing a blade, to breathe, to fight from a man who wanted him to ultimately fail and submit.
That is chilling.
Every instinct he has developed, every martial stance he takes, every time he draws on the wind, there might be a fatal flaw intentionally baked into it by his master, a back door left open for Iolite to exploit.
So what does this all mean? It means Xeonyx is stepping into Act 4, into the wider, dangerous world of Pikadesh, believing he has mastered his family's noble art, when in reality he might be wielding a poisoned blade.
He thinks he's a protector, but he might be a ticking time bomb.
The man who taught him how to survive the wolves was actually the alpha wolf in disguise, teaching him how to bear his throat.
These monumental twists have completely rewritten the landscape of the story. The battles ahead for Xeonyx are no longer just physical clashes of swords and wind, they are deeply psychological.
He's going to have to fight his own training.
Exactly. Xeonyx will have to unlearn his own instincts. He will have to fight the muscle memory installed by a traitor.
It sets up massive, universe-altering debates for the future. And as we wrap up this incredibly heavy, mind-blowing deep dive, I want to leave you, listening right now, with a chilling question to mull over. Something to keep you awake tonight as you stare at the ceiling.
Lay it on us.
If the man who taught Xeonyx how to survive was actually the one ordered to destroy him, what happens when Xeonyx finally realizes the truth?
Oh, man.
What happens to his mind when he discovers that the very foundation of his strength, his confidence, his survival, is built on a lie manufactured by his greatest enemy? Can a weapon forged by the enemy turn around and cut the hand that made it? Or will the realization break the weapon entirely?
Or will the flawed foundation inevitably cause the weapon to shatter when it finally strikes against the truth? It's a question of resilience versus corruption.
Exactly. It's like finding out that the compass you've trusted for a year to guide you out of the dark forest was actually designed by the wolves to lead you directly into their den.
And the terrifying part is, you are already halfway there.
A terrifying freefall indeed. The dragon has truly taken flight.
It really has.
With that lingering, unsettling thought, we are officially announcing that our deep dive into Book 1, The Whistling Swordsman, Beginnings, is finished. We have reached the end of this volume.
What a ride.
But do not despair, because the hype for what comes next is immense. We will return soon to begin covering Book 2, The Whistling Swordsman, Trust Betrayed.
Can't wait.
And if there's one single lesson to take away from today, it is this: trust absolutely no one in the Neo-Gentrics multiverse. We will see you next time.